I've got a quick disclaimer before we get started, and that is that I am not coached by Tinman. I've never seen an exact training plan that was written by him, but this is just a Tinman-inspired training program that I have written based on several of his philosophies. So I want to discuss those training philosophies before I get started on telling you the actual training plan. So number one is that each week should consist of 2 quality workouts and a long run. If the week includes a race, then that race is counted as one of those quality workouts. So these quality workouts are mostly in the form of critical velocity workouts, Tinman Tempos, or hill workouts. Philosophy number 2 is that you should do critical velocity workout pretty much every week. Critical velocity is around 90% of VO2 max, and it's a pace that can be sustained for about 30 minutes in a race, so for most people that's a little bit faster than 10K pace. Some other guidelines with CV workouts is that you only need 20 to 24 minutes of CV pace within a single workout. CV reps are mostly done in the form of reps that take roughly 3 minutes, so most of the time that's around 1K reps, but it can be done for reps as short as 600 meters or up to 1600 meters. The rest for these CV workouts is usually around 60 to 90 seconds, and that is often a jogging recovery. And finally, with these CV workouts, it's not uncommon to throw something like 2 to 4 times 200 at mile race effort at the end of the workout just to get some turnover work in. So the third philosophy is the Tinman Tempo. I've read that this is a tempo that is sustained for around 40 minutes that is roughly 1 minute per mile slower than 3K to 5K race pace. Now I know that's kind of fuzzy, but if you're a beginner, make sure you don't start right out at 40 minutes. Try to run that pace for a shorter amount of time, maybe even 15 or 20 minutes, and then work your way up gradually. The fourth philosophy that I'm going off of is that Tinman says to do hill work every week year-round. These hill reps can be in the form of a few short, fast reps after a CV workout or a Tinman Tempo similar to the 200s that I just talked about, or they can be their own easier standalone workout. He's really big on doing this hill work at certain race efforts and not race paces, so they're often done at mile race effort, or they can be done as fast as 400 meter race effort. The hills are normally done in reps of maybe 15 to 30 seconds or 100 to 200 meters. The fifth philosophy is that mileage is very important and you should run as much as you can reasonably handle. So that amount of mileage will vary a lot depending on who you are and what your experience in the sport is, but basically it shouldn't be a struggle to maintain this mileage every single week as long as you are keeping your easy days easy and you're running your workouts at the paces or efforts that you're supposed to. So the last training related philosophy that I want to talk about is that you need to be diligent and disciplined with keeping up on any ancillary work, which could be strides, it could be strength training, any rehab type exercise that you've done to prevent injuries that you've had in the past. It could be hurdle hip mobility, anything that helps your running out. So all that being said, let's get into the training program now. So the first thing you should do when planning a training program is to plot your destination point. My destination point is a 5K on the track at Washington University in St. Louis on March 29th. So I have about 5.5 weeks of training up until that point. The second thing that I like to do is to plan a mileage progression. So here is my planned mileage progression starting at 60 miles the first week and working up to a peak of 80 miles. So the mileage progresses through 4 weeks, although it doesn't quite look like it, but that's because I have some planned days off. So even though the total weekly mileage may not look as high or maybe the same as the previous week, the mileage per day is actually higher than it was the week before. So a lot of people may tell you to follow like a 2 weeks up, 1 week down, 2 weeks up, 1 week down type of program. But for people that have, careers, I think it's important to think about your real life schedule and kind of schedule around that. For instance, in week 3, we are hosting the Division II Indoor National Track Meet, and that takes a lot of time and effort, so that's why I've scheduled a day off there to give me a little bit of rest. So it looks like a big jump in mileage from week 4 to week 3, but remember I said that I have a day off in week 3, and in week 4 we're actually on spring break, so I have more time to train and rest. So frankly, I can handle a bigger jump in mileage that week. In week 5, I have scheduled another day off just because it's following the highest mileage week and a series of pretty good workouts, so I just think a rest day to fully recover would be important. And in week 6, I don't really have a weekly mileage planned at this point. This Wash U 5K isn't necessarily a peak race, but I do want to rest up for it a little bit, so my mileage will probably be a little bit down that week. But I do plan to do more outdoor track racing after that, so this isn't going to be like an ultimate peak 5K race. So one more thing in terms of planning this mileage, I'm not starting from ground zero either. Basically, I spent 9 weeks after 6 weeks completely off, building up from about 15 miles per week to a maximum of 50 miles per week. I've been taking at least one day off every week, so this jump from my peak of 50 miles to 60 miles in this first week really isn't that much when you just take away that day off from running. This mileage plan is also a best case scenario right now, so I definitely won't go higher than this, but if I feel like I need to, I will go lower. So I've planned for my critical velocity workouts to be on Wednesday of every week until the race week, which I'll put it on Tuesday. As I said earlier, the Tinman says that you only need 20 to 24 minutes of volume at CV pace, but you don't want to start out at that right away if you haven't been doing any workouts. So a good starting point would to be at roughly 15 minutes of CV work for your first workout. So I'm starting really simple with just 5 times 1K at CV pace with 75 seconds rest. So some different ways that you can progress your CV workouts is to either lengthen the volume of the rep that you're running, or you can decrease the rest that you're running. Maybe you start off with a standing rest and progress to jogging rest. There are all kinds of different ways to progress your CV workouts. It's also important to adapt your CV pace to your environment on that day. So if your normal CV pace is 5:20 per mile on a track on a perfect day, then you need to adjust for any outside factors that may slow you down. So if it's really hot out, if it's windy outside, if it's on a really hilly route, or maybe on grass as opposed to a track, you need to account for all those different things and slow your CV pace down accordingly. So throughout these 6 weeks, I build up to a peak CV workout of 7 times 1K or 7K at CV pace, followed by 4 times 200 at mile race effort with 2 minutes rest after those. It's important to give yourself a little more rest on the faster reps because you want to be able to run with skill and good mechanics. So the CV workout is one of 2 of my quality workouts each week. And here's where I kind of twist things around a little bit because of something that I know works really well for me. The second quality workout of most of these weeks for me is going to be kind of a blend of the long run and the Tinman Tempo. I have found that doing long runs at what I call a moderate pace is very, very beneficial for me at events from 1,500 meters and up. So I've planned a long run each week to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 20% of total weekly volume. I'm starting out at 13 miles and working up to a peak of 16 miles. So far in the past 9 weeks, the most that I've done has been 12 miles, with 8 of those being at a moderate pace. So how can I describe this moderate effort that I'm talking about? For several of these, I'm spending significantly more time than the 40-minute Tinman Tempo at this moderate effort. So if I'm doing that, the pace should definitely be a little bit slower than the Tinman Tempo prescribes. The best way for me to describe this is that this moderate pace is somewhere in between your tempo pace and your easy run pace, and it's a pace where you feel very, very strong and in complete control for the entire run. And when you finish your run, you should always feel like you could have done more mileage at that pace. So there can be a pretty wide range of paces that fit this moderate effort, depending on how long you're sustaining this moderate effort, or depending on any of those outside factors that I talked about before between weather and terrain that you're running on. So in weeks 1, 2, and 4, I'm spending a significant amount of time at a moderate effort within my long run. In week 3, as of right now, I've just got the last 5 miles of my long run scheduled for a moderate effort, but I'll be flexible with that one because that's when we'll just finish up hosting the national championships, and I know my body will be pretty trashed at that point, so I'm going to make sure to listen to my body. In week 5, I'm choosing to keep my long run entirely easy because I will do a different quality workout a couple days before that, and that is also the last long run before my 5K. So now if we go back to the very first training philosophy that I discussed, that was that there should be 2 quality workouts and a long run within each week. So I interpret that as 2.5 quality efforts per week. So if a long run is done at an easy pace, I view that as like a half workout because you're putting in a lot more volume than your regular, normal, easy distance run. So in my training schedule, a CV workout definitely counts as a quality workout. a long run with a significant portion at a moderate pace, that definitely counts as a quality workout. So I think that in my schedule, I have room for one more half quality workout. So this is where the hill work comes in. I plan to do hill work once every week on Fridays in weeks 1 through 5. So in most of these, I just want to get a mile's worth of hill work in. I'm planning to keep this pretty simple, and most weeks I'm just going to do 8 times 200 meters uphill at mile race effort with 2 minutes rest. So as long as you're keeping these hills at the appropriate effort, this should not be that taxing of a workout. In week 3, I'm also mixing it up a little bit and still getting a mile worth of hills, but the last 4 reps are going to be 100 meters, and I'm going to progress from 800 meter race effort to 400 meter race effort. In week 5, since I am doing a completely easy long run, then I will choose to do a true Tinman Tempo on Friday of that week that'll be around 6 to 7 miles, and then I'll follow that up with some hill work as well. So then the rest of the days are just going to be filled in with recovery runs or easy runs. The most taxing type of session in this training schedule is definitely the moderate long run, so that's why I've chosen to place 2 easy days after those and only 1 after the CV workout and hill workout days. So I've placed recovery runs after the quality efforts each week, which are the CV workouts and moderate long runs in most weeks, and then the rest of the days are easy days where the pace can vary quite a bit depending on how I feel, but those are definitely still kept at an easy effort. As far as ancillary training goes, I like to keep my hard days hard and put my strength training on my quality workout days. So I will be doing strength training on the CV workout days and the long run days. On the days before CV workouts, I will be doing some technique drills, some strides, and some hurdle hip mobility drills. The days after CV workouts, I will be doing the Myrtle hip strengthening mobility routine. On my hill work days, I will be doing some basic plyometrics. On days before my moderate long runs, I will be doing more hurdle hip mobility drills. I really just like the hurdle drills because I feel like they really loosen my hips up and get them ready to go for a hard effort the next day. So I'm going to be doing some form of ancillary training 5 or 6 days every week because that's really important to stay diligent with all that. And the main intent is to prevent injury, but it also helps with some other things with your running. So that is my 6-week Tinman-Inspired training plan. I'm going to do the best that I can to stick to this schedule and keep the ball rolling, as the Tin Man would say. So that's all I have for this video, and now it is finally time to get to some training.